kiss me on the mouth. You're not getting this on video.
No, sit down, sit down. I told him I was going to kiss him. Okay, so here we are. Kris Klustman, right? Okay, so I'm going to start out. I'm going to tell a little backstory on Kris Klustman. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Chris, when I was in high school, he was like the guy. Still is the guy. He's the guy. Owned a coffee stand here in town. Only hired good-looking chicks. And they all had great personalities, right?
That's right.
And you were killing it.
Thank you, yes.
Right? Then you got into a little real estate.
Yep.
And then things kind of fizzled, had a little... tanked. Good word, right?
Yep, tanked.
Went to work for the government.
Yep.
And then you realize that guys like us...
We don't work for the government.
We don't work for the government because we're ass kickers.
Yes.
Okay? So he gets out... Makes it sound like he was in prison. He gets out, comes back, gets back into real estate, and now you own what?
John L. Scott Belfair franchise.
John L. Scott Belfair franchise. Okay, so I've known Kris a long time. He's a great guy. He hired my wife for a long period of time. He's been around. Well, we're kind of like family, technically.
I
through
think
some
we are kind of
backwoods
shirt tail.
Belfair way. So he's in a really pissed off mood today. You can't tell from the smile, but... You know, Kris has sold, I don't know, a couple of these. This is probably the first one you've really sold for me, but I bought from Kris. You know, I've sought your advice on a bunch of different stuff as far as real estate goes because I don't know squat about it, and he's pretty doggone good at it. So I figured we'd come in, make a video today because he told me he was in a terrible mood. I walked in, he was actually playing with a gun. So it's a good thing he was just helping his mom out with a pistol of hers. But I want to talk to you about today, since you're in a bad mood and you're pissed off and you've been at the highest of highs for you, I mean, sure. And it's some super lows.
Yeah. So
what are you going to do to rally back? Because currently we're in the middle of selling a house, and it's a deal that he's really not making shit on. But he's doing it for me anyways, and the appraiser is just driving him up the wall, and it's probably not even worth his time, but he's going to do it anyways because Kris has got it going on, and he told me he'd be there for me, and he's been here so far. So now I want to know, what's it going to take for you to get back, rally, kick this one's ass, and then tell me not to ever call you again?
No, you can always call me. No, it's good, yeah. But rallying back for me is pretty easy. I got really steep shoulders, I think, right? But not a big deal. It bothers me when people don't do their job right. That's why I'm upset. I mean, the fact that if there's low appraisals that come in, if there's work orders that come in, those are all special deals. But when somebody gets paid, and they get paid really good to do their job and they do it wrong, that's why I'm pissed off.
So what could you potentially do for someone else who wants to buy from you to avoid this situation? Is there anything? I know none of it was really any of our situation. None of our was our deal.
You know, it's one of those things that just come along. But, you know, working with it and, like I said, working with you, you're like, all right, well, what do we got to do? I mean, that's ultimately the attitude we got to have. And for me here today, it's just getting through one little deal at a time. And I get to kick the trash can, scream yell on the phone, and then get to call you and tell you what I just yelled about.
He told me to piss off.
It's a piss off, man.
He didn't tell me to piss off. Okay, so what's your favorite kind of deal to make? Commercial, residential? What's your niche in this market? I mean, obviously you're managing a lot of people.
I used to just do vacant land. I really enjoy vacant land, and guys who want to put together their manufactured home package or a building package, stuff like that. That's what I really specialize in. Done a lot of residential, a lot of waterfront. I really like the smaller deals, even though you don't make a whole bunch of money on them. They're always the people that really need the most help and are really listening to how to make their life better.
What are you saying? I need help. I was going to ask you something else. I'm just winging it.
Cool.
If you haven't figured this out
You're
yet.
Great.
So now, let's say a buyer comes to you, and I asked this question to somebody else in a completely different area. What's the one thing they overlook? The seller comes to you, or the buyer, whichever you prefer, comes to you and they say, hey, I got this I want to sell, or this I want to buy. What is the one thing that they typically overlook? That you could, if they knew that ahead of time, it would save you work and it would save them headache. I mean, is there something?
Well, there's really, it's pretty simple, but recently we've had new requirements pop up with manufactured homes that we never had in the past. One of the deals is like your title elimination, which never became an issue, but then about a year ago, not even that long, 8 months ago, the county started requiring that you had to have title eliminated on your manufactured home, which means it was assigned to that parcel prior to closing. We used to be able to do it for $60 at closing if it was an issue and never got done. Now they can't, so that's a big headache. Other than that, the lending requirements and stuff like that are so specific. They want a Mercedes out of a Honda, even if it's a manufactured home. And so just being up to date on that, where lending really is, it kind of restricts what buyers that we can have. And so kind of that knowledge base would make a big difference, saying, okay, we understand it's manufactured home, we know it's of some certain age, but getting that condition up to what the lending requirements are going to be help us at the last second, where, being able to finance, get something closed.
Right on. So this the appraiser isn't really something you necessarily get to choose, or is it? I mean, we know that this one's a douche, so
you're
try to get rid of him.
The appraisals changed after the recession. The lending requirements stated that basically the reason we got into this recession was because bankers were forcing loan values towards appraisers. They were calling those appraisers and saying, hey, bud, you got to give me $50,000 more. And they were bending over backwards and doing it, which is totally full of crap. But they were saying that, right?
Sure.
And not saying that there weren't pressures, it just wasn't commonplace. And that wasn't the reason we went into recession. But by that, they made it so protective of a class that now when a lender orders an appraisal to value a property, it's a database. They don't get to choose who it is. They don't get to know who it is. They don't have a phone number to contact them. They push the button, that person gets paid whether they ever show up or not. And so having that distinction, that separation, has made it really difficult because no one can hold them to anything. And then all they can do is say, well, you know what, you're going to have to file a complaint. So even if they pull up terrible appraisal values like comparables, you have to go through a whole process and say, well, these comparables are much closer, and then they're the ones that they go out and decide whether or not to change the report, and they don't do it for more money or for less money. So They say, hey, well, pay me another $150. I'll go back out and redo the job I already did, right?
Sure.
And so there's no way around that. That being a big problem. And then when you have appraisers who call for recommendations, say, I'm not a professional in this, I think you should do this type of inspection as well, or have this updated. You can't fight it. There's nothing you can do other than accept it because they're the only ones that can release their appraisal to the bank. Bank can't move forward without that appraiser, and they're not allowed to call them because before they were told they were pressuring them, right?
Sure.
So now no one's allowed to make that phone call. That's a real difficult thing. You got to be able to get somebody to move along. We have appraisers right now that have 20 days window to get their job done. 40 days later, they're still not done. You can't call them and tell them to get off the pot, and you can't do anything about it, right? So having that separation is what makes it difficult.
So clearly the guy knows his stuff because I'm already confused. I mean,
we're good.
You always looking for agents?
Always.
And you're handpicking them?
Definitely.
So the guy knows his stuff. If you're out there, maybe you're watching this and you're like, hey, I want to dabble in some real estate. He'll be able to direct you, or he's going to say, get out because you're going to represent my company and you're not going to hack it, right? How many agents you got right now?
We got a dozen. We normally keep around 13 or 14. We've had a couple retire. But we really specialize in residential type stuff. We're looking for a commercial agent as well in this area right now, where our commercial market's really moving. We do a lot of training, so if you've never been in real estate, we do some mentoring programs. At the same time, if you're in business and you've been doing maybe 6, 8, 10 deals a year, but you're trying to make that go bigger, faster, better, we really can help you push. We have on average 8 or 9 walk-in clients every single week that aren't working with an agent, and we're really successful at that building floor opportunity for someone to buy, find a buyer or a seller. And we're pushing really good. Our market right now is just kicking.
It's pretty hot.
I think we got probably 30 buyers waiting for houses to come on the market, and most of our listings are pending at this point. So we're doing real well.
Sweet. Anything else? Where can they get a hold of you? If somebody wants to call you? I mean, that's kind of important.
Yeah, exactly. You can call my cell phone.
Because don't call me, because I'm going to say, look him up.
360-710-1268, or you can get me at krisklusman.com. That's KrisKlusman.com.
Okay, so there's lots of agents out there. Everybody knows that. It seems like everybody's an agent right now. But if you know anything about me, I've said it before, I know some guys that are good guys. I know some guys that are douchebags. This is one of the guys that I would say is a good guy. He's honest. He's working his ass off for me on something he's not even going to make any money at. I mean, he might make a couple bucks, but probably not enough for me to keep going. But he's doing it anyways. So check him out. Like I said, if you're looking to sell something in the Belfair area.
We work bridge to bridge, actually. We don't do a lot in Shelton anymore, but the Great View kind of area, Mason Lake, definitely. But then we go all the way up towards Paulsbo. We go all the way to Gig Harbor. And outside of that, we really refer people out to an agent that's more knowledgeable about that marketplace. We feel that's the best way to ever either represent you as a seller or a buyer. So that's our market area here. We do a lot of business. This last summer, I closed my 1100th home. And so
awesome.
That's pretty slick.
That's awesome.
We're going forward, and it's been a great season so far.
Cool. All right, are you in a better mood?
I'm good.
You're not gonna cry?
Nah, I appreciate it.
All right.